Hey Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, the state legislature gets word of a staffer infected with COVID-19. One county leader extends the limit on gatherings to 5 people. And we talk with UK's newest quarterback commit. All that and more is next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome into Hey Kentucky, along with LEX 18 Sports Director Keith Farmer. We were just talking, we both had to turn our heat on.
I wasn't ready for this.
No.
It was a little too cold in the house, so I had to kick it back on. Hopefully a couple more days we can turn it on.
I know. The warm weather makes it much easier to deal with the stay-at-home orders than the cold, rainy weather does.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So the fact that Kentucky legislators have continued to meet in person during the COVID-19 crisis has been a source of debate, and it's only growing. That's because a staff member of the General Assembly has now tested positive for the coronavirus. The Legislative Research Commission director said in an email that the unnamed aide tested positive yesterday. The person is apparently recovering and doing well, and anyone who came into contact with him has been notified. A conference committee met this afternoon where legislators discussed doing only a one-year budget and eliminating all raises. Then the entire state legislature returns tomorrow, but may make that their last day. And Keith, I don't know legally if they can do a one-year budget, but it seems like a good idea to me with the uncertainty of the revenue.
I just want them to get in, get the work done, whatever it may be, even if it is a one-year budget, and get out and quarantine like everybody else. Because I don't want our leaders being, subjected to this every day. Hey, this has happened, that has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've taken some heat for it from the governor himself.
Yes.
But they do have work to do.
Yes,
so
for sure.
It's a balance. All right, Governor Beshear announced yesterday a new executive order instructing Kentuckians not to travel out of the state as the confirmed number of COVID-19 cases in Kentucky approached 500. There are some exceptions, people who need to travel for work, for health care, or to care for a loved one. People along borders can also travel for necessities like groceries and medicine. But the governor says those who travel for other reasons will need to self-quarantine for 14 days when they return.
If we were able to take on a worldwide pandemic and come out of it better as a state than we have ever seen, that would say something about us. That would say we are also a great generation of great people.
Officials remind us that it's how well we follow social distancing orders that will determine the height of the spike in cases. Meanwhile, Tennessee's governor issued a statewide safer at home executive order urging people to stay at home and stay apart, as well as ordering the closure of businesses that cannot safely operate. But many say Bill Lee's order is too little too late. There's even been some shots taken from the state of Tennessee at Governor Beshear and Kentucky, but the numbers in this case don't really lie.
No. Thanks, Tennessee, for catching up to what we've been doing. We appreciate it. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep closing some places down and follow what Kentucky's doing, and we'll all be better for it.
That's right. It's just, but we're so used to being so mobile.
Yes.
Going to Tennessee doesn't feel like, you're leaving anywhere. It's just
even from here, and for those that are along the border, I'm sure it feels even less so.
Yeah, so it's just tough. It's tough. All right, as Governor Beshear continues to take steps to stop the spread of the virus, he's reacting to news that a Kentucky lawmaker wants to pass a law that would let people file suit over it. We've talked about the amendment to House Bill 322 filed on March 19th. It would limit the extent of a governor's executive orders issued during a public health emergency. And the legislation says any person adversely affected by an emergency order may bring an action individually or as a class action. This means people could sue Kentucky if the order negatively affected their business. Beshear calls the idea silly and didn't hold back in making his point.
I'm trying to save people's lives. And if somebody doesn't understand that, or if someone doesn't care, I don't really have a reaction for them. People can put an amendment that let the whole world sue me. I used to be a lawyer. I can handle that. But I'm going to continue to do the right thing.
Representative Savannah Maddox has defended her amendment, saying she's trying to prevent unnecessary economic hardship and dire unintended consequences. With only a few days left in the legislative session, it's unlikely this bill will go anywhere. Keith, we had the House Speaker on. He said it ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, and it shouldn't, because it is, just as he called it, silly. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you going to put the governor through a bunch of court cases, that everybody brings? It's so silly to think that you can do this. He, again, is trying to help people out, trying to do the right thing. Again, he is not making the decision. Totally. He's got people around him that
Yeah.
are helping him make these decisions.
And this is not him. I don't think it's a power grab. I
No.
think this is all what those who know in the
Yes.
know are telling people to do.
Exactly. And just to keep us safe.
Yes. Let's keep safe. All right. Speaking of executive orders, the leader of one Kentucky county has taken a bold step to encourage social distancing. Estill County Judge Executive Donnie Watson has issued a new executive order that limits people from congregating in groups of more than 5 who are not 6 feet apart. That includes the occupants of vehicles. Violators are subject to misdemeanor citations and fines. Keith, I hope there is like a small order, amendment for like people who have 4 kids and have to get in their minivan with 6 people.
I think there has to be for that. But yeah, hey, at least he's doing like
Yeah.
Andy Beshear has done. He is getting ahead of this, and he's trying to make sure that we're doing our part.
Yep. Even in the cars.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right. We've talked about concerns over the coronavirus making its way behind bars in Kentucky, and in at least 2 instances that has now happened. An employee at the Fayette County Detention Center has tested positive, but Lexington officials say there is no need to quarantine staff or inmates. When the story broke yesterday, union leaders for the workers said they were concerned that it appeared no one who worked alongside the employee had been tested. Meanwhile, 2 prison administrators at the Green River Correctional Complex have contracted the virus, but it's believed they did not have any contact with inmates. This news comes as jails around the state have been releasing nonviolent offenders in a hurried effort to contain the pandemic. But in one instance, even that may have backfired. An inmate released in Louisville has since been rearrested on a murder charge. Keith, he went from nonviolent to violent in a hurry.
That's what I'm saying, So, okay, we are going to let some people out, but maybe we need to be careful about the ones that we let out.
Correct. We were so critical of Matt Bevin's ridiculous pardons.
Yes.
This shouldn't be any different. This should be vetted the same way that should have been vetted.
Very much so. This is the last thing you want to see right there is somebody turning into more of a career criminal or into a violent offender.
Yeah, absolutely. The COVID-19 crisis continues to bring out the best in Kentuckians. While Lexington's Hope Center is not overcrowded at this time, the need to adhere to social distancing and make extra space has prompted them to find a partner at Transylvania University to help make that happen. Up to 50 homeless clients will be moved into the practice gym at the Clive Beck Center on Transy's campus through the end of April.
We have a 24-hour number we can call, and we can kind of do an assessment through the phone, and they will direct us on how to proceed with the best intervention for the client based on the symptoms we describe.
Among the others who have stepped up, Jubilee Jobs and Local Taco have partnered for a program called Just Feed Lexington, providing hundreds of meals over the next 2 weeks. An out-of-work hairdresser in Scott County is using her sewing skills to produce protective masks for people in the most vulnerable states. And the owner of Lexington's Tattoo Charlie's is donating supplies to area hospitals. Keith, we have seen lots of good stories like this, but kudos to Transy for opening up their doors the way they have.
I think that's wonderful, and that's
Yeah.
a massive extra gym that they have up there that can, I'm sure, house a lot of people, and wonderful to see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when it's you and me, we've got to have at least one time where we talk sports. It's a split decision on the matter of additional college eligibility for competitors impacted by the COVID-19 cancellations. A bummer for Nate Sestina. Last night, the NCAA announced it would not be granting extra time for athletes competing in winter sports. So Sestina will not be back next season. Coach Cal offered kind words to the UK big man following the news, and Sestina responded with a tweet saying, "All love, Coach, forever a Wildcat." The Division I Council did, however, vote to allow schools to provide spring sports student athletes, including baseball and softball, an additional season of eligibility. And Keith, while I would love to have Nate Sestina back, I do think this makes sense.
I'm just glad that they made this decision to help out the spring athletes, because
Yeah.
you can never count on the NCAA to do what's right. In this case, I think they have done that. I think they've given these players in softball and baseball, tennis, golf that just got started with their seasons, now they get the chance to come back for one more year and do it the right way.
Many of them didn't get to play at all.
Yeah, sure.
Or they just got started.
Yes.
So I think that's the right move. All right. Up next on Hey Kentucky, Keith talks to UK's newest Yahtzee. Homegrown slinger Kaya Sharon tells us why he's excited to have chosen Big Blue. Stay with us.